Welcome back to the channel, tennis fans. Right now, somewhere deep in the Coachella Valley, we are standing beneath skies so perfectly clear they look artificially painted. The greatest tennis event outside of a Grand Slam is about to completely ignite. Welcome to the breathtaking BNP Paribas Open at Indian Wells, California. If you have never experienced this in person, close your eyes and imagine the scene. You are surrounded by a desert landscape so dramatically beautiful, it feels surreal. The San Jacinto Mountains rise like silent sentinels in the background. They stand watch behind world-class courts that practically shimmer in the brilliant winter sun. The crisp air carries the sweet scent of jasmine. The massive crowd carries an electric expectation, buzzing with the energy of seeing their favorite global icons. Billionaire architect Larry Ellison has completely transformed what was once just a simple desert stopover. It is now an architectural and technological cathedral dedicated to the sport. Stadium 1 stands colossal and utterly commanding. Meanwhile, Stadium 2 offers an electric and intimate vibe, complete with fine wine and gourmet food for the elite crowd. It delivers the exact kind of high-stakes atmosphere that makes you lean forward in your seat. The anticipation builds before the very first ball is even struck. Every single inch of this magnificent campus breathes absolute prestige. Make no mistake, this is not just your average tennis tournament on the calendar. It is a full-blown experience, a true pilgrimage, and a rare privilege. Every player desperately wants to win here, and every fan dreams of attending. Standing inside these exclusive gates feels like magic. It is widely considered the fifth Grand Slam in everything but its official title. And this year features an explosive lineup. The roster is absolutely incendiary. Novak Djokovic is still relentlessly hunting perfection, stubbornly refusing to yield his superstar status to the passage of time. Carlos Alcaraz and Jannik Sinner are two generational heavyweights forging a legendary rivalry. Their epic battles are guaranteed to completely define the next 10 years of the sport. On the women's side, we have defending champion Mira Andreeva and the pure wrecking ball power of Aryna Sabalenka. They are joined by the chess master precision of Iga Swiatek. We also have the undeniable home crowd darling, Coco Gauff. These are the massive celebrity names plastered across the gigantic billboards lining Interstate 10. These are the iconic figures that premium sponsors ruthlessly fight over. They are the names that completely fill stadiums before a single warm-up ball is ever hit. But hit the brakes right now, because here is exactly where our story breaks from the predictable script. We are not talking about any of those established stars today. There is a new headline that currently has the entire tennis world spinning. This is the story that has completely rewritten the narrative of this year's Sunshine Double. That captivating story belongs to a 20-year-old from Quezon City, Philippines. Alexandra Eala is officially the absolute main attraction at the BNP Paribas Open. Let that sink in for a moment. She is not a former champion, nor is she a highly seeded favorite entering the tournament. A 20-year-old from Southeast Asia has confidently walked into one of the most star-saturated tournaments on the planet. She has effortlessly stolen every single spotlight in the building. The global tennis world is not just casually watching her play. They are absolutely captivated and physically cannot look away from her rising celebrity status. To truly feel the massive weight of this incredible moment, you have to understand her journey. Just days ago, Eala climbed to a career-high world ranking of 31. That was a seismic jump of 16 places in the WTA rankings, sending literal shockwaves through the sport. But make no mistake, this was no quiet, incremental rise. This was a pure detonation, powered by a truly breathtaking run at the Dubai Duty-Free Tennis Championships. It remains one of the most fiercely competitive tournaments available. It is one of the most demanding WTA 1000 events on the entire calendar. Eala mercilessly carved through a field of hardened, veteran professionals. She played with the remarkable poise of an athlete twice her age. She marched through round after round, proving to be precise, immensely powerful, and completely unflinching. She battled relentlessly until she stood directly across the net from world number 4 Coco Gauff in the quarterfinals. The magical run may have ended right there. However, 215 ranking points and nearly $100,000 in prize money later, Alexandra Eala achieved true greatness. She did something completely unprecedented. She accomplished something no Filipino tennis player, man or woman, had ever done before. She secured the highest WTA or ATP ranking in her entire nation's history. This world number 31 ranking is not merely a digit on a leaderboard. It is an absolute golden key that unlocks massive opportunities. Those very same doors were firmly locked to her just a few months ago. She is now planted directly in the Indian Wells main draw, entirely skipping the exhausting qualifying grind. She completely avoids the brutal early round attrition before the main tournament begins. She earned a coveted first-round bye, giving her crucial time to finally breathe. She can soak in the desert air, completely calibrate to the unique court conditions, and intensely focus her mind. Meanwhile, other desperate players are burning their energy and nerves. They are completely draining their nerves, just trying to earn their basic place on the court. Eala has not simply crashed this exclusive VIP party. She has been handed a highly reserved seat at the absolute head table, and the entire room is leaning in to watch. But rankings alone do not generate this kind of pure, unadulterated electricity. There are literally 30 incredible players ranked above her in this specific draw. So, why exactly is she the main attraction? Well, the profound answer has 3 distinct layers. Every single one of those layers is absolutely extraordinary. Let us start with the pure tennis itself, because if you have not watched Alexandra Eala recently, you are missing out. Over the past 12 months, you have genuinely missed one of the most exhilarating evolutions in modern women's tennis. In the incredible year of 2025, she made her mark. She completely detonated onto the global stage with a phenomenal run to the Miami Open semifinals that literally left jaws on the floor. All along that magical way, she was ruthless. She systematically dismantled 3 former Grand Slam champions, including Elena Rybakina and Madison Keys. She even took down the incredibly formidable Iga Swiatek in back-to-back, thrilling matches. Beating them in consecutive matches proved that this was absolutely not a fluke or blind luck. This was not just one good week on the tour. This was a definitive, thunderous statement. It was a cold, brilliantly composed declaration that a dangerous new force had officially arrived on the scene. Her heavy, left-handed forehand is dangerously loaded with massive topspin and extreme velocity. That immense velocity is paired perfectly with her flat, driving, two-handed backhand. Together, they proved they could effortlessly unravel the absolute best defensive players in the entire game. They proved highly effective against the very best in the entire sport. When she powerfully claimed her very first WTA 125 title down in Guadalajara, everyone finally paid attention. She also registered a massive, landmark victory over Clara Tauson at the highly competitive US Open. She transitioned flawlessly from junior world number 2 and US Open girls champion to a legitimate pro. From a junior champion to a truly legitimate WTA Tour threat, her upward trajectory has been totally unmistakable. It has also been remarkably and undeniably rapid in its execution. But here is exactly what makes her a truly different kind of athlete altogether. It is not just the lethal forehand, the elite academy training, or even the impressive world ranking. It is about what fiercely ignited inside of her during the worst possible moment at the Abu Dhabi Open just a few short weeks ago. I want you to mentally picture the dramatic scene. She was facing off against the highly experienced Belarusian veteran Alexandra Sasnovich. With the first set totally gone and the second set fiercely won, the deciding third set began to quickly collapse. Her game started to visibly collapse, falling down 0-1, then 0-2, 0-3, and finally 0-4. Being 4 games down in a deciding set against a seasoned professional is brutal. In the ruthless world of professional tennis, that is not merely a scoreboard deficit. That is an absolute death sentence. The anxious crowd grew incredibly quiet, with a very particular, heavy dread. It was that awful, suffocating silence that fully descends when every single person in the massive building can clearly see the tragic ending before it even officially arrives. Most normal players at that devastating score, at that remarkably young age, and on that massive global stage, simply lower their heavy heads. They quietly play out the remaining match with basic dignity. They just absorb the painful lesson and quietly move on to the next tournament. That is universally considered the professional and mature way to handle defeat, but Eala did something else entirely. She simply stayed perfectly still, calmly looked up, and then fiercely began to fight back. She competed with the absolute intensity of someone who believed the current scoreboard still said 0-0. Point by excruciating point, she relentlessly clawed her way back into the difficult match. Her desperate opponent, clearly sensing the impending finish line, slowly began to visibly tighten up under the immense pressure. She committed a crucial double fault here and hit a forehand fractionally long there. The massive crowd, which had previously gone completely dead quiet, excitedly began to stir and rumble with pure anticipation. At 3-4, Eala spectacularly broke serve, and at 5-4, she confidently served for the match, eventually forcing a thrilling tiebreak. The entire psychological momentum of the massive stadium had completely inverted. That momentum held true when the final, dramatic point fell her way after 2 grueling hours and 51 minutes of pure combat. Eala triumphantly turned to her loyal corner to address her team. She proudly addressed her passionate Filipino supporters directly in Tagalog, saying, "Laban lang," a powerful tribute to the epic internal battle she had just fought and decisively won. It was the ultimate testing of her absolute, deepest, most fundamental inner courage on the court. That was absolutely not just a regular tennis match. That was a pure, unadulterated revelation of true character. It is the exact kind of rare character that forces strictly neutral fans to emotionally choose a side and keeps them excitedly up way past midnight, frantically refreshing the live scores. That stubborn, relentless refusal to quietly accept a tragic narrative written by someone else is precisely what makes Alexandra Eala entirely impossible to casually ignore. It is a profoundly unique quality we typically file directly alongside the absolute legends of the sport. We are talking about Novak Djokovic miraculously erasing massive 2-set deficits at Grand Slams. Or perhaps Serena Williams brilliantly conjuring impossible points from absolutely nothing deep in the decisive 3rd set of a championship final. It is a quality that is extraordinarily rare at any given age. However, at merely 20 years old, possessing that level of mental fortitude borders heavily on the totally otherworldly, and this is exactly why she is such a massive draw at Indian Wells. Every single time Eala's name brightly appears on the official schedule board, and every time the PA announcer dramatically calls her to the court, the massive crowd surges with pure, chaotic energy. They surge toward her court because they fundamentally know that a match is absolutely never truly over when she is involved. Not with her relentless fighting spirit on full display. Now, I want you to mentally peel back the strict court lines and look closely at the vastly bigger, more important picture. Because what is currently happening out in sunny California right now is monumental. This is absolutely not merely an interesting sports story. It is a massive cultural event of genuine, undeniable global magnitude. Southern California proudly hosts a vibrant, massive community. It is home to one of the absolute densest, most intensely passionate Filipino-American communities anywhere on the face of the earth. For countless generations, that specific community's athletic heart beat differently. It consistently beat to the rhythmic bounce of professional basketball and to the explosive, thunderclap fists of the legendary Manny Pacquiao. But tennis was always something entirely different and largely separate. Tennis, with its highly exclusive, wealthy country club heritage and its primarily European geography, safely existed way out at the absolute edges of their cultural focus. But Alexandra Eala has powerfully and decisively driven professional tennis straight into the absolute dead center of the Filipino sporting consciousness with an unbelievable, undeniable raw force. She has achieved a level of impact that absolutely no expensive advertising campaign, massive marketing budget, or clever PR strategy could ever artificially manufacture. She did it entirely with a devastating forehand. She spectacularly accomplished it with that incredible, legendary comeback out in the harsh conditions of Abu Dhabi. She did it by miraculously climbing to the world number 31, ranking against all odds. She is proudly standing tall right in the prestigious main draw of one of the absolute most exclusive and important tennis tournaments anywhere on earth. What Indian Wells is genuinely witnessing this specific week is historic. It is witnessing a massive, highly organized mobilization of the entire global diaspora. There are roughly 12 million passionate Filipinos spread out far across the globe, closely watching her every move. They are heavily concentrated in the major, high-income markets of North America and the Middle East, and they are rapidly converging directly on the beautiful California desert. They are excitedly driving straight down Interstate 10 in the exact same frantic way an older, nostalgic generation once enthusiastically poured into Las Vegas to passionately watch Pacquiao powerfully walk to the boxing ring. They are excitedly bringing massive flags, and they are bringing an absolute tsunami of deafening noise. They are bringing a fierce, unmatched ferocity of pure, unadulterated support that is completely transforming the atmosphere. They are single-handedly transforming the traditionally manicured, politely whispering hush of standard Indian Wells country club culture into something altogether radically different. It is significantly louder, noticeably wilder, and so much more vibrantly alive. The previously quiet practice courts are completely and utterly overwhelmed by eager, screaming fans. Official ticket requests are massively spiking off the charts as fans desperately try to get inside the prestigious gates. Southeast Asian digital streaming numbers are violently obliterating every single previous viewership record on the books. The magnificent BNP Paribas Open has consistently always been a truly spectacular, world-class event. However, this specific year, with the electrifying Eala officially in the highly competitive draw, the entire tournament visibly pulses with something remarkably additional and uniquely powerful. It is actively pulsing with the raw, crackling electric charge of an entire, incredibly proud nation, intensely watching one of its very own fearlessly stand toe-to-toe among the established giants of the sport. For the massive, corporate WTA organization as a profitable business entity, this remarkable development is absolutely not just casually exciting. It is completely, fundamentally, and undeniably transformational. The professional tour has consistently always clearly understood that its ultimate commercial ceiling rises in exact, direct proportion to the sheer size and raw passion of the global audiences it can successfully reach. Li Na famously and violently cracked open the massive, lucrative Chinese market for the sport years ago. Naomi Osaka brilliantly fused professional tennis directly with global youth culture over in Japan. She proudly represents a massive demographic armed with some of the absolute highest social media engagement rates on the entire planet. They are part of a global diaspora that is highly educated and deeply passionate. They are an incredibly affluent and fiercely emotionally mobilized fanbase. The massive global corporate partners of the WTA, from Morgan Stanley to the PIF, can clearly see exactly what this golden opportunity means. Eala is perfectly bilingual, highly articulate, and absolutely magnetic whenever she steps in front of a television camera. She is already widely beloved globally before even winning her very first major championship title. The steep commercial trajectory happening right now is absolutely not a slow, incremental build. It is a massive, vertical climb that strongly resembles watching the legendary Manny Pacquiao effect playing out in tennis shoes. Whenever Manny fought in the boxing ring, entire bustling cities back in the Philippines went completely and utterly still. Major crime rates would reportedly drop to absolutely zero as everyone watched in awe. The normally chaotic streets emptied out completely as a unified nation of well over 100 million people collectively held its breath as one. Historically, professional tennis has always required a different approach. It has traditionally demanded much more patience from dedicated Filipino sports fans. The highly nuanced sport is inherently slower to learn and historically much slower for the massive general public to deeply love. But Alexandra Eala and her meteoric rise have completely shattered those old cultural barriers into a million pieces. She is now absolute front-page news and is consistently trending across the entire globe. She proudly carries the massive, heavy weight of an entire proud nation squarely on her back. The undeniable evidence that she possesses the remarkably strong shoulders to carry that profound burden grows exponentially every single match. Critically speaking, she simply could not be entering the prestigious gates of Indian Wells at a more perfect strategic moment in her young, explosive professional career. The highly unique environmental conditions out here in the brutal desert are absolutely perfectly suited to complement her specific style of aggressive play. The dry desert air is remarkably thin and incredibly fast. That crisp, thin air violently sends the ball flying right through the player's contact zone at a terrifying pace. However, the actual physical courts are notoriously slow and incredibly gritty underfoot. They produce a highly aggressive, high bounce that massively rewards heavy topspin while violently punishing players who prefer flat, low trajectories. This is an absolute dream scenario for her specific skill set. For a highly dedicated athlete who has deeply absorbed years of brutal clay court discipline at the legendary Rafa Nadal Academy in Mallorca, Spain, this harsh environment is absolute heaven. She has rigorously trained her entire life in the absolute slowest, most grueling, and grittiest court conditions the entire professional tour has to offer. This specific surface was practically custom-built for her powerful game. Her lethal cross-court forehand is dangerously loaded with massive, heavy left-handed topspin. That incredible spin violently kicks up high and aggressively right into the vulnerable backhand of her right-handed opponents. The grueling, significantly longer rallies that this specific gritty court absolutely demands play directly into her brilliant strategy. It allows for the patient, completely suffocating point construction she has completely mastered over the years. It perfectly utilizes the exact strategic muscle memory that her brilliant coach Joan Bosch has painstakingly spent years actively building into her core foundation. Let us be incredibly precise about her intense training background. We must be painfully honest about exactly what the famous Nadal Academy truly instilled deep inside of her soul, because it vividly explains everything you witness on the competitive court today. That prestigious facility was absolutely not some polite, gentle finishing school for wealthy athletes. It was a brutal, unforgiving laboratory strictly dedicated to the pure, relentless art of athletic suffering and endurance. That legendary academy absolutely does not ever teach polite or comfortable tennis. It relentlessly forces its young players to fully embrace the miserable daily grind and fight for the 16th shot of a punishing rally. They learn to violently battle for the 17th and then the agonizing 18th shot without ever losing their mental focus. They strictly learn to strategically construct a suffocating, unrelenting pressure on the tennis court. They win by simply returning one more impossible ball until the desperate opponent's decision-making finally fractures completely under the immense physical and mental strain. Eala completely absorbed this brutal winning philosophy. She absorbed it directly into her very DNA. And then she brilliantly added her own lethal, custom weapons right on top of that rock-solid foundation. She developed a devastatingly flattened backhand ripped straight down the line. That incredibly aggressive shot now violently ends points instantly, rather than just passively extending the long rally. She also totally re-engineered her serve from being a known historical vulnerability into a razor-sharp weapon. It is now a highly deadly precision instrument of total destruction, particularly the wide slice directed perfectly to the ad court. That specific shot completely tears open massive, impossible geometric angles on the hardcourt. It directly feeds perfectly into her ultimate forehand dominance on the very next returned ball. It is a highly deliberate, fiercely intelligent brand of modern tennis that completely dictates the entire pace of the professional match. It brilliantly conceals a genuine, lethal menace directly behind a perfectly calm and completely composed exterior. Let us mentally go back and revisit that incredible Abu Dhabi match just one more time to understand her fully. That specific match serves as the absolute Rosetta Stone for fully understanding everything about her elite mindset. Being down 4 massive games to absolutely nothing in the final deciding set usually means the match is completely over. Most normal players find their internal conversation at that exact dreadful moment completely shifting away from a winning strategy and moving directly toward basic survival mode. They desperately wonder how they can simply hold their serve. They just want to somehow make the final scoreline look somewhat respectable before leaving the court. Their tired mind instantly retreats. Their once brave tactics violently contract in fear, and they essentially accept utter defeat. That fatal contraction is exactly what allows a closing opponent to easily finish the job cleanly. But not Eala at 0-4. Her mind absolutely did not retreat. It rapidly accelerated. Her nervous opponent stepped up to finally serve for the entire match. Eala fiercely returned the ball with a terrifying aggression that had absolutely no business existing at that desperate scoreline. The massive pressure cracked her opponent, forcing a crucial double fault. A powerful forehand that should have easily been a clean winner sailed completely wide, leading to a massive break of serve. Then came yet another stunning break of serve. That was quickly followed by a thrilling tiebreak that Eala completely dictated and aggressively controlled from the very first dramatic point. Make absolutely no mistake, it was not mere fortune or blind luck. It was a prolonged, sustained act of pure psychological dominance brilliantly executed at the precise moment when dominance was least expected. That unyielding mental fortitude is arguably the absolute rarest tennis skill there is. It is the exact intangible quality that separates the very good players who simply reach the second week of majors. It separates them from the absolute legends who historically define those massive tournaments. The brutal path ahead at Indian Wells will absolutely demand every single version of Alexandra Eala. It will strictly demand the relentless grinder, the fierce aggressor, and the impenetrable mental fortress. A highly anticipated potential rematch with Coco Gauff under the bright Stadium 1 lights promises pure magic. It promises something truly spectacular for the loyal fans. Furthermore, Gauff's incredible lateral movement and elite defensive range will severely test Eala's strategic patience on the hardcourt. It will test her brave willingness to aggressively attack the net rather than passively stay back and let the world number 3 comfortably absorb and effortlessly redirect her heavy ground strokes. However, matching up against Aryna Sabalenka or Elena Rybakina presents an entirely different, terrifying challenge. They bring absolute brute force directly from the baseline to the court. They try to make all complex tactical strategies completely irrelevant with sheer, overwhelming pace. Eala will desperately need her defensive slice, her brilliant rhythm variation, and perfect discipline. She will need extreme discipline to aggressively deny these powerful players the perfect waist-high ball they constantly crave. But here is the cold, unavoidable mathematical truth of the situation. Here is the undeniable reality of the 2026 WTA Tour. The competitive gap between the world number 1 and the world number 31 has absolutely never been tighter. On any given surface, on any specific court, and on any given sunny afternoon, if Eala's ball striking is perfectly clean and her sharp mind is fully locked in, she is extremely dangerous. She is a highly legitimate, terrifying threat to every single massive name in this tournament draw. Her magical run in Miami completely confirmed it, and Abu Dhabi wrote it in permanent ink. She is absolutely no longer a fun, unpredictable dark horse. She is not a fleeting curiosity, nor is she a cute underdog narrative artificially built just for casual, part-time tennis fans. She is a heavily documented, officially seeded, and psychologically battle-hardened legitimate threat. She has firmly arrived at one of the absolute most prestigious and competitive tournaments on the entire planet. And this is exactly what it all ultimately amounts to in the end. The stunning revelation that Alexandra Eala is the absolute main attraction at the BNP Paribas Open is undeniable fact. It is absolutely not some manufactured media creation or a temporary feel-good sideshow. It is the hard-earned, completely inevitable result of countless years of brutal physical sacrifice. It is the direct result of brilliant tactical growth and the exact kind of profound psychological depth that most seasoned professionals spend their entire careers desperately searching for without ever truly finding it. She proudly arrived at that impressive world number 31, ranking not by lucky accident. She earned it by the massive, grueling accumulation of hard-fought points and painful lessons. She earned it through countless brutal battles, bravely fought from seemingly impossible, losing positions. A young, promising prodigy has officially crossed the difficult threshold into something far more dangerous. She has officially evolved into an absolute, undeniable powerhouse. I mean, the beautiful California desert has certainly seen countless legendary champions come and quietly go over the decades. It has proudly hosted absolute legends and witnessed historic coronations. But the Alexandra Eala era has officially arrived in California, and what happens next in Indian Wells will be worth every single second of watching.